Yesterday in South Africa commemorated an event that happened 50 years ago that was extremely important for many reasons. I'm going to circle back to that event, but I particularly want to share another layer of that came up for me around chronic fatigue and burnout. Something that I have not spoken enough about and which needs to be acknowledged, which is very important. The Fatigue to Flow podcast offers a deep, transformative approach to healing burnout and chronic fatigue, going beyond surface-level fixes like stress management or supplements. We explore the real roots, nervous system imbalance, harmful psychological patterns, and the mind-body connection. Chronic fatigue isn't just a condition, it's an opportunity for awakening to your greatest self. Each episode blends personal experience with practical tools. If you're ready for lasting vitality, joy, and flow, this episode is for you. If you struggle with exhaustion, the experience of chronic fatigue, chronic overwhelm, burnout, you will probably have been told that, or you'll think that rest is the answer. And yeah, to some degree it can help, and supplements may help, and hormone treatment may help if you've got deficiencies or imbalances. But unless you address one foundational layer that I'm going to talk about today, it is like pouring water into a bucket with holes in it. I mean, I'm sure you've felt it before, where you're getting more rest, but it's still not quite giving you that vitality that you're not experiencing that vitality that you need. And you're spending a fortune on supplements and you're not seeing any results. Or the results happen, but then as soon as you stop taking the supplements, you no longer have the results. This is because that foundational layer is not being addressed. And that foundational layer that I'm talking about is the experience of safety in your body. It is when safety is being signaled in your body. It is a signal in your body that is picked up by all the cells and all the mitochondria and the nervous system, sending out that signal. The cells are receiving that signal that it is safe. And many of us can live in bodies that don't feel safe for many years and not realize it. It just becomes our default. That was me. I was already a psychologist and a body talk practitioner before I realized the degree to which I never truly felt safe and how that played out in my body. So firstly, we need to be safe for our nervous systems to be able to spend a large amount of time in the rest and repair state, which is the parasympathetic state, because that is where the healing happens. Our mitochondria can only be in two states, can only be making energy or signaling danger. This comes from Robert Navio's theory of cell danger response. So if your body is signaling danger, your nervous system is signaling danger, your body's picking up that signal, your mitochondria are going to be, their role becomes to signal danger, so the body can shut down things that no longer need to be happening so that the body can respond properly to danger. And therefore, energy cannot be created in that state. And the things that are shut down and the things that also start to increase are usually great in the short term for survival, but very bad for thriving. For instance, your digestive system is going to slow down. Your liver, the capacity to detox is going to be compromised. Your blood sugar balance is going to shift so that you've got more energy for fight or flight. Your vision changes so that you have more tunnel vision, focused on the immediate here and now response that needs to happen. You don't have the capacity to see greater than that, and that includes your capacity to have a more open-minded mindset. Everything becomes very hyper-focused on the perceived threat. So there's many systems in the body that are impacted. Your entire endocrine system is impacted. Your metabolic system is impacted. Heart rate, blood pressure. So many aspects. Okay, and when these are regularly impacted due to the signaling of danger in your body, you're going to be unwell. You're going to have ill health. And particularly that can show up as chronic fatigue and burnout and the symptoms that go along with it. So it is vital that if you want long-term healing, that you address your nervous system and support your body to signal safety, support the nervous system to signal safety to the body. Now, the reason why your body may not feel safe, the reason why your nervous system may be signaling that it's not safe, I've kind of put it down to 3 layers just to simplify it, just for the sake of explaining it. And I've explained 2 of the layers, but today the 3rd one's really important. So for those who haven't heard me speak before, the first layer is kind of a subtle layer. It is where we as children did not feel safe to be ourselves, to be our authentic selves. And in fact, with all 3 of these layers, that is one of the aspects, is not feeling safe to be your authentic self. And in all the layers, there's often a feeling of not belonging, but particularly the 3rd one. So as a child, if you had an emotional need, so usually, I'm talking now many children who were loved and cared for, but lived in societies, homes, schools, where emotions were not well tolerated. And so when emotions were expressed or emotional needs were expressed, or, this could have been a tantrum or sadness, it would result in various forms of response that didn't feel safe. So it could be more like overt punishment or criticism. It could have been more subtle, like an emotional withdrawal from the caregiver or a shutdown in the caregiver, which to a child who's exceptionally connected and astutely aware of that energy will feel that as an abandonment. And we will always choose connection over authenticity. And so we will adapt ourselves and suppress ourselves and shut ourselves down to be safe. And with that goes the nervous system pattern of a chronically dysregulated nervous system and a signal of not being safe, which can very easily be triggered in various situations throughout life if that hasn't been addressed. That's layer 1. Layer 2, that sense of safety is more overt in environments where there is abuse. And I want to include in this neglect as well, because neglect is it's not hurtful, but it's pivotal to survival. If you think of the failure to thrive that happens in children in orphanages, connection and containment and regulation are vital to our well-being, to the point that we have mirror neurons in our brains. Because we are actually built for connection and for co-regulation. But if we grow up in environments where there is sexual, physical, emotional abuse or neglect, then obviously the body is not going to feel safe. There's often a tendency to be very hypervigilant, to feel like you're always walking on eggshells. And so that's the body's seldom going to be spending long periods of time in a state of rest and repair, with a parasympathetic state. Okay, and then the 3rd layer. So some people may just relate to the 1st layer, some people may relate to the 1st and the 2nd layer, some people may relate to all 3 layers. And I'm not by any means saying that any of these are more important than any others, but what I am wanting to say is I have not spoken enough about this 3rd layer, and it is the layer that I want to really bring into awareness today. And that is the layer of not feeling safe in terms of the identity that you were born with, and the inherent aspects of yourself that come about. It's not also just that you're born with, but maybe that you were taught as part of becoming who you are in your family. So what I'm talking about here is firstly your skin color, but then also religious upbringing, cultural practices, and gender identification, sexual preference. But especially when I'm talking about like qualities that you were born with, when those are not accepted by the society in which you live, that I want to speak to, because that level of not feeling safe is one in which I can imagine feeling deeply, deeply powerless. And there are people who live like that all the time, and this isn't spoken about enough. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, so 50 years ago, yesterday, the 16th of June, 1976, in Soweto in South Africa. A number of students of color were protesting against the fact that the government at the time, which was a dominant patriarchal white government, wanted to replace the teaching medium to be that of Afrikaans. In other words, all children had to learn, and all students had to learn in Afrikaans, which was the language of the government at the time. And can you imagine now you've got a child who's really battling with science and maths, and now they've got to learn those concepts in a language that's not their home language. So naturally there was a lot of concern that this would really set these children back in many ways. And this is on top of the fact that their education really wasn't ideal. They weren't given the privileges that many white children were being given. And so there was a lot of unhappiness and protest. And the law enforcement came in and initially used tear gas and dogs and rubber bullets. But then they opened fire with live ammunition. And one of the first victims was a 12-year-old boy. There were many deaths that followed. The official count given by government was 23. The unofficial count, through research, things that didn't come into the light because they were hidden a lot of the time, the unofficial count was up to 200. And in the weeks and months following that, there was a lot of upheaval because of the rage around what had happened, and there was further suppression and there were further deaths. And that unofficial death toll has been quoted at around up to 500. And I was telling my son about Youth Day and why we were commemorating it yesterday and what happened. And he said, "But Mom, surely that's illegal." And I said, "Well, boy, when it came to the white government and people of color, they just had their own rules. And they felt they could do whatever they wanted to, and that people of color had no rights." And he couldn't believe that. And it really made me think about what it must have been like to walk around and live and try and survive in a society in which you are constantly perceived as other and different and less than, and what they must do to a nervous system. Constantly on alert. There's definitely no safety in the body. But what's really important about this is that this is still happening. This is still happening. In some places, we see it in the US at the moment, for instance. It's pretty overt, and in other places it's happening more subtly. But where people are people of color, people with specific gender orientations or sexual preferences are not able to feel safe in the societies in which they live, and they are constantly on some level in a little bit of or a lot of nervous system dysregulation, and what that must be doing to their bodies. And so I really wanted to emphasize this today because I haven't spoken about it enough, and I think it's very important. Some people, I'm going to add in another piece, but I want to come back to this. But some people are going to say, yes, but I'm tired because I have an infection. It's mold, it's tick, bite fever, it's something else. I'm going to say, well, why is it that some people can be exposed to mold and be fine? Some people can eat certain foods and be fine. Some people can have Lyme or COVID and then recover. The reason that some people are more profoundly affected and go on to have chronic fatigue and other symptoms is, again, nervous system. Because remember what I said about cell danger response. When your body's in cell danger response, your nervous system is not properly modulated because it's constantly stuck. It gets constantly stuck in that signaling danger, that state of signaling danger, and so it's overreactive. And when you have an overreactive nervous system, then you're going to have autoimmune issues, you're going to have intolerances, you're going to have oversensitive responses to certain things. So I just want to bring that in as well, because many people don't necessarily understand that physical aspect of it. So if you've got a body that does not feel safe because of a history of not feeling safe, and then you add the straw that broke the camel's back, Lyme or COVID or something else on top of that. And then you can also add in other stresses. So now we go again, just looking at who feels safe and who doesn't. Those who lack resources, who are constantly living with lower income, that stress is an additional stress that some people can handle better if their nervous systems are more robust. But if you've now got a nervous system that's already set to perceived threat, and the world is not safe, and you've now got fewer resources and constantly battling to put food on a plate, it's going to add to that nervous system stress, and to potential ill health and chronic fatigue and burnout. And I think this is again important in terms of those who are more likely to be impacted, and the different layers at which it can happen. So this can be quite triggering, what I've shared with you. For those of you who are people of color, or people who have particular religious affiliations or gender preferences, or gender orientations, this might be triggering for you, what I've shared, because it might feel a bit traumatizing. And for those of you like me, this can be triggering because it might bring up feelings of defensiveness, might bring up feelings of guilt. I know all these feelings very well. I've had them myself. And all of these are feelings related to the nervous system. And the reason I bring this up is because I don't believe that we can, one, heal unless our nervous systems are healed. We can't heal physically. But two, we can't heal this world. We can't heal our differences. We don't have the capacity. When we are in our body stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, we are unable to have compassion. We are unable to, remember I said you can't have the scope of thinking. You're not open-minded. Like, everything is narrowed down to focus on survival. So there's no capacity to be able to empathize and see something from someone else's perspective. There's no capacity to look at oneself and take responsibility for something that perhaps can be taken responsibility for. There's no capacity to forgive. There's no capacity to hold someone else's emotions so that they can feel those emotions and feel heard, without needing to fight back and hurt someone in the process. But when we have more robust nervous systems, all of that can happen. And then we also bring up generations of children who are able to do those things. And so, to me, nervous system health is just so important on so many levels for where we're at right now in the world. And so, saying all of that and mentioning how you may be activated or triggered in this moment, I'd like you please just to take a moment and notice what's going on in your body. Just drop in. Perhaps you can do that by focusing on your breath and focusing on the quality of your breath. Like, how deeply or how shallow are you breathing? Are you breathing? Have you been holding your breath, perhaps? And as you focus on your breath, let it invite you into your body. And notice if your body is in contraction. Is it tense? Is it contracted? Do you feel like you're bracing against something? Or is your body soft and relaxed? Are you pulling up and pushing forward? Or are you leaning back and drop down into your pelvic bowl? Other signs of nervous system dysregulation could be anger. You might feel angry with me. You might feel angry in general. You might feel like you want to run away. You might just want to stop listening to me and turn this off. There's just a sense of, I can't cope with this. This is too much. You might feel exhausted. You might just shut down, stop being able to focus. You might feel wired in your body, like there's electricity running through you. You might not even be able to feel anything right now. Maybe you're completely disconnected and numb. These are all aspects of nervous system dysregulation. This is what happens when your nervous system is signaling that it's not safe. This is what happens in the body. One or two or three or four of these symptoms. So I want you to just be really curious with what you are feeling, and notice if perhaps it's if it's familiar to you. Maybe you also have tightness in your chest or a feeling of emotions pushing up through you. Maybe you felt that while I was talking. These are so important. These are all signals of the state of your nervous system, and they can let you know when you're not feeling safe. And I'm sharing this because if we can understand when we don't feel safe, then we can also know when it's time to meet that in ourselves or to reach out for others to support us. And what I'm going to do today is to share with you one tool that you can use when you feel this way, which if you do this consistently along with other nervous system practices, your nervous system can actually change its wiring. We will always have dysregulation. We're always going to go into a state of being in a bit of fight or flight or a little bit of freeze. There's by the way, there's other states of nervous system I'm not going to go into today. I'm just simplifying it. But we will always go into those a little bit. But what we can do with focusing on the nervous system and by the way, also part of why I wanted to bring up what I brought up today around acknowledgement of those who literally don't feel safe in their skin for various reasons, is that acknowledgement is also another way of signaling safety, feeling heard. This is really important for those of us who can and have the capacity to hear, is that can start to signal safety. And we're a collective, so whatever happens in our own nervous systems actually affects those around us. So if we support others to have healed nervous systems through our own regulated nervous systems, that ripples outwards. It can be exceptionally powerful. And now I've totally lost track of what I was saying. I think, anyway, what I was going to share with you, though, is that if we do, if we do these things enough, these sort of nervous system regulation practices, if we connect to ourselves and pay attention to what's going on, that signals safety. If we acknowledge others, that signals safety to them. If we hear them, that signals safety to them. Today I'm going to be teaching you a breathing practice that can help to regulate the nervous system. And this is how it goes. I'd like you please to breathe into your belly, into your abdomen, like a balloon, expanding like a balloon. And then take a little sip of air, filling up to the top. Hold and release with an open, slack jaw. Breathing out fully, all the way, really exhaling. And again, breathing into the belly, expanding it. Sipping to top up. Hold and release. Fully exhaling. Into the belly again. And just notice what you feel now. Notice if your body is softer, perhaps. Are you leaning back a little bit more? You drop down a little bit more? Has your breathing slowed? Has your heart rate slowed? Do you just feel more connected to your body? How does your body feel having had that connection? Sigh can go a long way to supporting the nervous system, and so can a simple yawn. So if you're yawning a lot, it's not a bad thing. We like to think it's because we're tired. Sometimes it is, but a lot of the time we're actually regulating. We're actually very clever. We even regulate when we rub our eyes. This is a way of regulating. There's so many nerves from our eyes right to the brainstem, and they link into the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for the relaxation response and the other responses, nervous system responses. All right, so what I'm sharing, what I really want to leave you with is, I'm thinking of all those who are impacted in any way by what happened 50 years ago, and all of those who continue to be impacted by not feeling safe in your bodies, particularly due to inherent aspects of your identity and who you are, so that it does not feel safe to be yourself in the world. And I'd like you all to just realize how powerful it can be to be aware of our nervous systems and to know when we don't feel safe, and to begin to bring some healing to the nervous systems, not just for our own health, but because that ripples out to others around us and increases our capacity to actually heal a lot of the conflict that's happening in the world at the moment. And I don't know, call me an idealist, but I truly believe that the more of us that heal our nervous systems, the more change is possible. And that's great things can happen very quickly with that sort of ripple effect. But we just got to start with ourselves and trust that goes outwards from us and touches other people around us as we co-regulate those around us through our own healed nervous systems. Please respond with any questions you might have, any feedback, any comments. I'm absolutely open to whatever you feel you wish to share or ask. And just go gently, everyone. Before you go, do you want to find out if your personality might be keeping you stuck in fatigue or burnout? As a psychologist and body talk practitioner, I've seen a clear link between certain psychological patterns and chronic fatigue and exhaustion. That's why I created a quick 5-minute quiz to help you discover if you resonate with what I call the holding personality, a set of traits that I've found common in many of my clients struggling with fatigue, and characteristics that keep them stuck and depleted. So head over to kerrymagnus.net, that's no www, just kerrymagnus.net, and click Start Here to take the quiz. It might just be the missing piece you're looking for.